Hey guys, in this video tutorial I show you the 5 most surprising and useful watercolor tips that you might not have heard of. Tip number 1. Ever heard of masking fluid? This is a surprisingly useful tool when it comes to more complicated compositions like the ornamented design elements in this painting. I use masking fluid from Schminke, which you can easily apply with a brush. By the way, I have listed all materials that I recommend and use myself in the video description for you. The consistency of masking fluid is a little bit like jelly acrylic paint. Once it dries on the paper, you can paint over it with watercolors and all the areas that you covered with it will stay completely white. I used the masking fluid to preserve the Baroque-inspired style elements of this painting, because I didn't want to carefully paint around each one of them. When you are finished with the background or the areas around the masking fluid, just rub it off with an eraser. You will see that the underlying paper is completely untouched. If you want to try out the masking fluid technique yourself, make sure you buy one that you can actually rub off. I once bought one that stayed forever on my painting. This is obviously not what I wanted. Tip number 2. Plan your artwork digitally. You wouldn't believe how many artists whose work look as if they had just drawn it out of their memory directly onto the paper have in fact spent hours or days refining and perfecting their drawing or sketch digitally before they even begin their real artwork with watercolors, markers, color pencils, or other traditional media. If you prepare your artworks digitally, for example in Adobe Photoshop, you can work out all the kinks and mistakes before you put your work to paper or canvas. You can just make small adjustments in your scanned sketch or create a completely new composition for a painting. Tricks like flipping your artwork, manually adjusting proportions of a face, switching between different color palettes, or copying complicated patterns into your drawing gives your creation process a whole new level of complexity. You can do all of that before you begin the traditional painting or drawing process. Tip number 3. Plan the order of execution. That sounds more technical than it actually is. What I mean by that is that you need to think about how watercolors work in general. Watercolor is a water-soluble medium. That means that already dried watercolor on paper will be reactivated again. Especially so if you used a lot of pigments. For example, if you paint a portrait, it makes absolutely no sense to start with the eyes and eyelashes first and continue with the skin tones around them. If you would do that, you would dissolve the blacks of the eyelashes again and end up with very ugly smudges. With watercolors, you have to build up layers. For portraits, for example, it makes sense to start with filling in all the skin tones from light to dark before adding darker areas like eyes or the hairstyle. Tip number 4. You don't need expensive watercolors for a good painting. Back in the days when I started my art career, I didn't have much of a choice and had to buy the expensive watercolors in order to get bright and vibrant colors. But today, there are so many emerging art supplies brands that make excellent watercolors too, many from Japan. My favorite palette at the moment is the Komorebi watercolor palette. It is super affordable and the vibrancy of the colors is fantastic. They even come with a set of neon colors, which is perfect if you want to paint vibrant flowers. Pay attention to the light fastness though if you buy cheaper watercolors. Many companies have some information about the light fastness of their products on their website, and if not, they are happy to help you out if you write them an email. Before we get to the last point on the list, I wanted to let you know that if you want to see hands-down examples of how to use these tips to create stunning artworks yourself, click on the link in the video description or go to patreon.com/leobarbrückner. For a very small amount per month, you can watch and download over 100 painting lessons, video tutorials and several hours-long real-time videos. In my videos, I teach you how to paint professionally gallery-ready paintings. I not only teach you how to paint individual parts of a painting, like hair or noses, but I also teach you how to create professional artworks like mine that are bought by collectors worldwide. Furthermore, my tutorials are not about watercolor techniques only. I have lots of painting lessons about oils, color pencils and acrylics and mixed media as well. I even have a couple of lessons about how to use Adobe Photoshop for your paintings. For a small amount per month, you get access to over 100 painting videos, hundreds of work in progress pictures and useful tips and tricks. Join me on Patreon today and learn how to paint like a professional artist. And now let's continue. Tip number 5. You don't have to use only one medium for your watercolor artworks. You can pretty much combine each medium in one art piece if you like. I created so many paintings where I not only worked with watercolors and color pencils, but also used gouache, acrylics and even oil paint. Check out my other videos if you want to learn more about that. And for my newest painting, I incorporated washi stickers into the composition. And here is how you use them. Because washi stickers are rather transparent and wouldn't cover the areas sufficiently, I used a little trick here. First, I arranged my washi stickers on my painting how I thought it would look the best. Then I drew carefully around each one of them with a mechanical pencil to make their outlines visible. If I wanted them to look as if they are behind something, like the head for example, I drew on top of them with a white luminance pencil to indicate which areas I needed to cut off the stickers. Then I used a sharp scalpel and scissors to cut out the pieces I marked before. Next, I filled in the outlines I had previously drawn on the paper with white acrylic paint. I usually needed 2 layers to completely cover the painting. Pro tip: use a hairdryer if you don't want to wait for the acrylic paint to dry. Then came the thrilling part. I carefully removed the stickers from the plastic base and very carefully stuck them onto the white areas I prepared. It worked out perfectly. You can apply as many stickers as you want and you don't need to even use washi stickers. You can glue everything you like to your artwork. I included a couple of cool stickers in the video description for you that I found on Amazon. If you already know at the beginning where your stickers should go, you can even cover these areas with masking fluid before you paint, so you don't have to paint over your artwork with acrylics later in the process. I decided spontaneously at the end of the painting that I wanted to apply stickers, so I had to do it that way. If you make a drawing, I believe it would also look fabulous if you let your drawing evolve around the stickers. And if you want to make a painting with tons of butterflies and flowers for example, you don't have to paint each one of them, just use stickers and save some time. If you want to see more tips and tricks about how to paint with watercolors, check out my other video if you haven't already. In this video I talk about the most important watercolor and color pencils hacks that you need to know. That being said, we are coming to an end. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up, leave a comment and subscribe to my channel. See you in the next one. Bye bye!